Just as sunflowers chase the sun, inductees into the South Dakota Hall of Fame chase their dreams day after day, year after year. The 700-plus inductees in the Hall of Fame come from all backgrounds and corners of our state. What their stories have in common is their unwavering courage and belief in their dreams. These dream chasers are an inspiration for us all to strive for excellence and believe in our own potential to chase dreams well into the future.
After attending medical school and completing his residency, Dr. Loren Tschetter established his practice of internal medicine, hematology, and oncology in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. In this practice, Loren was a pioneer and instrumental in establishing a research clinical treatment program as part of patients' treatment for their cancer. In order to do this, he focused on patient education, a strong and supportive staff, and helped establish the first institutional review board. Dr. Tschetter is known for his empathy and care for his patients, and has not only changed lives, but has saved lives throughout South Dakota.
I'm Greta Chapman. I'm the CEO for the South Dakota Hall of Fame, and today with me is Loren Tschetter, and we are going to visit about his story as an inductee. There may also be some things as a board member as well. And so, Loren, thank you for taking the time to share your story in a way that we can continue the journey. What's transpired from your perspective, one, as you came into the hall, and what's happened since then as far as your story?
Well, it was first of all a great honor to be inducted into the hall, without saying. And the other thing that it has done has really opened up kind of some of the world to me in terms of people that I've learned to know through the board and the board of the Hall of Fame and just the Hall of Fame in general. And that I found very useful. I'm retired from oncology practice, but I still do a lot of things related to oncology, both locally and nationally, and that's only gotten better, I would say.
And I think your description of that is pretty succinct in the sense of who you are, because change and adaptation as you get older, at least statistically has shown to be more difficult. And yet in your case, it's almost in the reverse.
It's gotten easier, right.
Yeah.
For example, there's several board members that I would never have known outside of being on the board and related to the hall. So West River, Central South Dakota, Northern South Dakota, it just has really opened that up.
What would you want others to know about your story when it comes to its impact on South Dakota?
I think I was successful in setting up an environment where clinical trials as part of a patient's treatment was a possibility and something that they would consider. Whereas before I came to South Dakota to practice oncology, and actually I was one of the first oncologists here, that possibility didn't exist. Now we had to set up an infrastructure in order to do that. But I think I was successful in promoting that to where now people have a better acceptance to that, although I found that people had an acceptance of it once they understood it, even in the beginning. But I remember remarking, wouldn't it be nice if the National Cancer Institute had public service ads on television related to clinical trials? And that didn't exist, but it does now. And at night, sometimes I hear them. So I think we made some real progress. So I was helpful in setting up that environment to develop. Took other people to do it in addition, but at least there was some impetus for doing it.
You have a really thoughtful, kind, and interesting approach when you participate. That's my observation.
Well, I would say this, as an oncologist, there are certain traits that go along with being a good oncologist. One of that is empathy, real empathy for the patient. They're in difficult situations. Right. But number two is the ability to stand back and get away from that and say, what's the situation we're facing here, and what options do we really have that are realistic? So you have to have empathy and yet be able to step back from that empathy to really take care of the patient.
The yin and the yang of.
Because if you're just empathetic and don't have the
Sure.
ability to step back and
Yeah.
really evaluate things, you're not going to do a
Yeah.
good job.
Yeah. What does South Dakota not know about your story?
They don't know much about my childhood background, and I don't know if that's personally interesting to everybody.
Oh, always.
But I didn't have
Always.
the easiest childhood, you know, because my parents separated in '57. But before that, between kind of 50 and 57, we just moved around all the time. My father
old
was
were you?
restless for some.
Okay.
Well, I was 15 in '57.
Okay.
So he was restless, and he just moved all the time. One year I went to 3 different schools. But one of them, interestingly, the second one of the 3, was Hollywood High, and my grandkids are always intrigued by that. Now, I knew no one famous,
But you were there.
but I was there. But the one thing that I figured out as a kid growing up, now I might have not done this and gotten off on the wrong track too, but I figured out that education was going to be important. And so I always really worked on that when I moved schools.